Hi, I am Rose, and you are watching The Sovereign Soul. I am doing a series called the Fix You series, Fix You for Free series, for people who are facing illness, possibly their mortality a lot sooner than they thought, and all the different aspects of us that come with that. And if you're a person like me who doesn't have finances to actually help and support your illness, that can feel quite scary. And also, if you don't want to go the mainstream, which I'm not. So, I'm going to share information that could help you to hopefully fix the body, but if it doesn't, hopefully it will fix the soul and your relationship to your life and your relationship to even your death. So, I want to talk about food today, being the fundamental factor of what affects our health. I believe food is like top of the chain. And my research has led me to believe that at first I thought the ketogenic diet would be the best thing to do. I have studied the ketogenic diets, I've done a whole big fat coaching course on that to understand it better, and long before I understood that I even possibly may have cancer. I say even though possibly, maybe, if you listen to my last video, you'll understand why I have tumors, whether or not they malignant or benign, and what kind of cancer it is, I don't know, and I'm not interested in finding out. I want to rather fix myself rather than throw myself into mainstream medicine, which I feel poisons rather than helps. So, that being said, when I realized, Houston, I may have a problem last year, probably around October, I changed my diet and lifestyle instantaneously. First thing I did was put myself onto an anti-inflammatory diet and started walking regularly, because I know that walking is really good to drain our lymphatic system, which is our detox system. It's what gets rid of the toxins in the body. Walking also improves the immune system. And wow, okay, there's too many benefits to that. I'm going to stick to the food thing. So I started on an anti-inflammatory diet, but knew intuitively that I'm going to have to get myself onto a ketogenic diet as soon as possible. I'm someone who needs a little bit of time sometimes to get my head around things, and so I took a few months to properly decide my start date, where I had to commit, and that commitment date was probably around the 18th or so of January this year. I wanted to get through birthday season, which is huge in my family. Lots of birthdays all through November. And then, of course, there's Christmas, New Year, and then last birthday, 16th of January. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to start. It's not like I ate whatever I wanted in between that time, but I did have little bits of time off in between that time. And then started serious ketogenic diets at the beginning of January, or the mid-January. Let's rather say mid-January. So I would reckon around the 18th of January is when my start date was a Monday. And I went on to strict keto, what I thought was doing good for me. But there were certain things that I was struggling with already, which were very obvious. I had started gaining weight a year prior to that, or even maybe a little bit more, can't remember now. So for 2 years actually, so it was maybe before that, I was struggling with my weight, and in struggling with my weight, that was giving me a very clear indication there was a lot of inflammation going on in my body, as well as insulin resistance, which is a great sign of inflammation in the body. As I said, I hadn't been exercising a lot. I hadn't been walking, which I think is just one of the best things I could do, and hadn't been taking great care of myself. And so the ketogenic diet was the beginning of some different rabbit hole which I went down, understanding the body more and nutrition. I think I've always been looking for that perfect diet that you don't need a supplement with, and like I've explained, my financial situation has not been great, so if I could just get what I've needed from my food, especially in this time, that was like the biggest win to me. Ketogenic diet can be quite expensive, and so my research took me to learning about the carnivore diet. I had first watched a whole bunch of cool podcasts about insulin resistance and glucose in the body and inflammation and all these interesting things. And in 2 or 3 of these podcasts that I was watching, there's no mistakes. One of the guys that I watched, one of his podcasts, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, I don't know, he's awesome. He's like a professor at Boston University, I think, but he's amazing. And he does a lot of cancer research, and he talks about fasting and how that affects cancer in a positive way, and then keeping your blood glucose right down. And so I then heard about a carnivore diet. I kind of heard it maybe somewhere in the background of my life before, but ultimately that was not what I was looking at. So I just realized that I'm filming this wrong, and I'm supposed to be filming it like this for YouTube. So I apologize that the first videos are a little bit fucked. Anyway, okay, now I just get confused because of where the camera is. Oh, so bright. So he, oh fuck, sorry that you, there. So he studies cancer and keeping your blood glucose down, and then carnivore diet. And so I started researching the carnivore diet because I heard a few people. Ben Bickman, he's quite amazing, he spoke about it. There's another dude, I can't remember his name, they call him a glucose doctor, very interesting. And in this there's all these mentions of carnivore diet. And then I heard about the zero carbohydrate diet, because carbohydrates are the things that fuel, sugar fuels cancer. Carbohydrates are things that turn to sugar, glucose in the blood. So if the body's turning into glucose, you are going to fuel cancer. Glutamine is the other thing that they apparently really fancy. Tumors, cancer growth. But apparently it's an amino acid that you can barely not, it's like impossible to not find it in any food that you eat. And of course we need to eat. And if a person has got something like cancer, it means your body's already not nourished, your body's not absorbing proper nutrients, your mitochondria is probably fucked, like I say, your insulin is probably really high, your blood glucose is probably a bit fucked, you're struggling with inflammation, and that will have effects on your energy levels, your hormones, all sorts of things. So there's many factors of what's not going right in the body, which I was glaringly aware of. And the carnivore diet tend to tick a lot of boxes in what it was saying in theory. So first of all, you're going to go on a zero carbohydrate diet. You're going to do it in a ketogenic fashion, in that you're going to have high fat, low protein, which means the body will be in a permanent state of ketosis if you do it properly. And that actually gives the body it's like the body's fasting. You fast on ketones when you ketone it up, and in fasting on ketones, or being in a state of permanent ketosis, your body will start churning up cancer cells. But the other effects that it has is it brings down your insulin, so it lowers inflammation in the body, which is essential. Obviously it keeps the blood glucose levels stable, which is fucking incredible, and it balances hormones when you're eating the right kind of fats. So everything about this diet really appealed to me. The other thing that really appealed to me is the fact that meat contains all the nutrients we need to thrive in a human body. I never knew that. I've been looking for this elusive diet my whole adult life. And I have tried like raw vegan, I've tried raw vegan things, I've tried whole meal things, I've done juice fasts, I've done all sorts of things through the years. I've done a lot of different kinds of detoxes, fasts, all sorts of stuff. And they all say that, oh, when you get the right balance of nutrients, you're not going to be hungry anymore, etc., etc. The only time I've ever found that to be true has actually been on this carnivore diet. So I have been following the carnivore diet since the beginning of March. I was really strict for the first 90 days, really strict. And then what happened is I discovered dairy, which, great, not great, but I started having caffeine and a little bit of honey. Now, all that did was stop weight loss. I definitely lost weight within the first 90 days of the carnivore thing. Could definitely feel more energy. There were a whole lot of different effects on the body that I could feel. I've also been taking a little bit of bendazole, still walking regularly. I've always been a daily meditator, or always, since like, I don't know, for 10 years I've been a daily meditator. So I've had that, practice mindfulness and other stuff that I do. If you see any of my other content, you'll know what I'm about in that kind of way. But anywho, so when it came to the carnivore diet and ticking all the boxes, and I know it seems completely counterintuitive because there's so much narrative out there on that you got to go vegan and vegetable, especially if you have cancer. But there's now a very large amount of information about the carnivore diet, and that vegetables are quite the opposite. So I'll give you an example. I was only having almond milk because I thought that that was better for me. So when I was ketoing it up and I was having, say, a cup of tea, I would have it with almond milk. And then also, you know, you can have almond milk on a ketogenic diet, like that's okay. So it was like a treat for me to have unsweetened almond milk. My hair was falling out, and my hair had been falling out for quite a few months. And once I stopped the almond milk and I didn't have tea or coffee or anything for 3 months, my hair stopped falling out. So there's something that's balancing my hormones clearly. Like I say, I lost weight in the first 90 days, not radically, but actually radically. I think my friend worked out that over this year I've lost probably about 13 kilograms, which is a lot. I don't know how much that is in pounds, but it's fuck tons. Maybe over 26, maybe even close to 30 pounds. I don't know. It's a lot of weight. And I lost my train of thought. And so the vegetables, the oxalates inside of the almonds were actually the thing I think that was causing my hair to fall out, because my diet was pretty clean when I was doing the whole ketogenic thing, and I had already been pretty clean for months on my anti-inflammatory. I was having a bit of junk food here and there over birthdays, and not even all the birthdays, to be quite honest. But so ultimately I realized that it was the oxalates in the almonds that were probably causing my hormones to fuck out and my hair to fall out. So I would say since the beginning of March, I don't know how many months that is. I'm now filming this on the 30th of September 2025. I have not had a vegetable. Nothing. I lie. I've had some coffee and I've had some tea, and those are the only vegetable-y things I've had. Otherwise, nothing. I have been eating huge amounts of fatty red meat. I don't like pork. I will eat chicken because it's got a lot of collagen. I wasn't at first. I was only eating beef and maybe some lamb or mutton, but minimal seafood because, like I say, I'm on this budget. But the thing is when you start getting enough of the meat in, it's quite easy to only eat once a day. Over time, in the beginning, they don't recommend you do that. You eat until you're hungry, because remember, your body probably hasn't been absorbing nutrients, and now your body wants to absorb nutrients. That's like the first thing it wants to do if you're actually giving it the nourishment that it needs. So it could actually be a lot hungrier, and you need to honor that. Eat until you're not hungry, but you don't want to snack in between and all those things. And now I generally will only eat one meal a day. So it's actually easier financially on me to eat this way than to try and find the right diet on the vegetable side of life, because I know about all different kinds of vegan and dietary things. And I'm not saying it doesn't work for people, because it does. I've seen loads of people help themselves with that. I think Chris Cures Cancer is one of the guys. But that's not my journey, and that's definitely not what resonates with me, and it's not what has slowly helping me get my energy back. And I say slowly because it really has been a slow process. But it's the carnivore diet that I have chosen, and like I say, I've got many years of health research behind me. I am a ketogenic coach, and I understand. I've even studied nutritional therapy. I've even got a diploma in nutritional therapy. So I've studied a lot of nutrition, and honestly, this has been the thing that made the most sense to me in where I'm at and my needs. Other thing is I've been anemic for years and years and years and years and years and years, like probably 16, 17, 18 years. I wouldn't be surprised if longer, but only like diagnosed then. Um, and I haven't had to take an iron supplement at all for the last 7 months, however many months it's been, 6, 7 months. And that's amazing to me. I walk regularly. When I started that walk, it was like quite taxing on the body. Now, no, it's such an easy walk. I barely get out of breath. It's like a couple of hills, and it's amazing. So it's done a lot from that perspective for my fitness. Um, so physically, I have lost weight, and my hormones are far more balanced. My hair doesn't fall out anymore. Don't have iron issues. My eyesight has improved. Definitely seen certain improvements on my skin, and my energy, which is the most important thing. Can't say my energy is cured, but definitely better. So that is not a free bit of advice because we still have to pay for our food. But I can honestly say that it has been really healing to my body to be able to do this. Um, and I know it's not exactly the mainstream narrative, but more and more doctors are realizing that low protein, high fat diets are phenomenal for so many different issues in the body. And I even, there's a girl on YouTube, she's awesome, followed her loads in the beginning or watched loads of her information, Steak and Butter Gal Bella. Her dad apparently had cancer, and his doctor told him to go on a high protein or high fat, low protein diet, like eat lots of meat, which I think is amazing. So I'm going to leave that there. If you've got any questions, please put them down in the comments. And also, if you found this useful, I would appreciate if you would just share the message. Oh, on a side note, everything's going to be really raw. I don't give a fuck much about the idea of being professional or editing or stuff like that. I just want to get a message out to help people, and I'm not all that. I am all very much just plain. Okay.